There's floral notes and herbs you can use. And so with the array of botanicals available to us, all 4 of these gins are going to have very different flavor profiles.
They're all American style gins, correct? And is that its own category now? Is that a specific category of gin now? I mean, you hear about London Dries. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, London Dry, Navy Strength, Tomcat. There's lots of different styles of gin. It really is, a very wide category of spirit. The first one we're going to start with is the Aviation Gin. This is Ryan Reynolds' brand. It is from Portland, Oregon. It's made in small batches. It's really smooth and subtle. All of these gins are going to be smoother and less juniper forward than the typical London Dry that you would expect with the London Dry style. The botanicals made in Aviation include French lavender, cardamom, and 2 different kinds of orange peel for nuance. The cocktail I chose to make with the Aviation is just a simple classic gin and tonic. And really the key to a perfect gin and tonic in our mind is the 2-to-1 ratio of tonic to gin. So you want 2 parts tonic for every 1 part gin. I recommend using Fever Tree tonic, but any tonic you have is totally fine. So what I'm going to do for the 2 parts, we'll do 2 ounces of Aviation to 4 ounces of our tonic water here. Chris, you mentioned shakers early on. I'm a pretty firm believer when you have any carbonation, you gotta stir. It allows everything to come together without losing any of that fine carbonation. And there are some superstitious bartenders who believe that the botanicals in gin need to be massaged with a light stir rather than a shake.
There you go. You're back.
We'll add some ice. We'll garnish with a lemon or a lime, whatever you have available. Easy. Cheers.
How'd everybody's come out? Hold it up. Sipping away. That's what I like to say.
I'm not opening in my chat, but if anybody has any questions or some modifications, if you're more of a soda person, you don't like the taste of quinine in tonic, feel free to use club soda. Or if you like a soda mixed with your gin, I would still recommend that 2-to-1 ratio.
That's crucial to any. I mean, it goes along with your flavor profile, what you like, but where one's not overpowering the other. You really want a nice complementary blend in that. Correct?
Correct. That's what I would say. So you can, the citrus really is a lovely garnish, but actually you can use fresh herbs if you have them to sort of give a different flavor profile to your gin and tonic. You can feel free to add dashes of fruit juice or add some lemon juice if you like it a little more citrusy. There is innumerable combinations with this classic.
Nice. How's everyone get out? They catch it?
I'm sorry?
Seeing if ever I'm trying to go through all the pics. Everybody caught up and made theirs. Yeah, I see thumbs up. I see glasses up. I see pinkies up. Yeah. There you go. Cheers. Bring the glass up. Show it. Show us what you made. There you go. Excellent. Nice garnish. Good, good. Excellent.
Through and see a couple. Oh yeah, look at all those wonderful drinks.
No Uber ride tonight. That's the best part about this. So what do we got coming up next? I mean, before we get into St. George, Aviation's out of Portland, Oregon, correct?
It is.
All right.
It is Oregon made in small batches.
Small batches. So what's Ryan Reynolds' actual deal with them? It's his company?
It is his company. He went and tasted through. He was involved in the making of the process. He owns the company. You know, he's a partial owner of the company. So he's not just a brand ambassador. He truly is invested.
Right.
And actually, his friend Hugh Jackman and him have launched a campaign where they co-market each other's products. Ryan Reynolds in the Aviation Gin, and Hugh Jackman has his Laughing Man coffee. So they support each other in their drink endeavors.
Right. And Aviation have, since the onset of this pandemic, Aviation have launched a charity. All the sales of their gin throughout the nation, they're going to donate back to the restaurant industry, correct?
Yes.
Yeah,
it's a wonderful gesture. So
yeah.
every time you purchase Aviation, you can feel like you're doing something to help someone as well.
Right.
We love that.
Yeah, big time. Especially all our friends out there in the restaurant industry, all the hospitality industry. And from Aviation, we're going to move into another American-made product called St. George out of Alameda, California, correct?
Correct. And so this is the adorable, wonderful 3-pack exploratory pack that we have that includes 3 of their best-selling gins. We have the Terroir, the Botanivore, and the Dry Rye.
Okay. Now, which one are we going to start off with?
We're going to start out with the Terroir, which is the green, the green bottle.
Everybody got theirs? We'll start with the Terroir. So the company was founded in 1982, correct?
Correct.
So they moved, I'm reading a little bit about them, they moved into what do you call it, airplane hangar, 65,000 square foot airplane hangar, where they sat there, said, oh, how are we going to fill this thing? And at capacity, pretty much, with everything they make there, correct? And it's just not gin. They make a whole array of spirits, correct?
Absolutely. They make, they're known for their pear brandy. They have an OGV. They have a pear brandy that sort of was one of the flagship products there. They have liqueurs. They have incredible mixers, such as their Bruto Americano, which is an aperitif, bitter, delicious. They have a Nola, a coffee liqueur. So St. George is really a really wonderful company, just pushing the edges of what American spirits can do.
Right. I'm really interested in, do you have their dry rye Reposado here?
We have the dry rye gin.
But they make one called a Reposado too, don't they?
Yeah,
besides this dry rye that we have here today, they make a fourth one I saw on their website. I don't know if it comes to Connecticut or not, though. It's called a Reposado.
They have a very wide portfolio of products, and they're all just so unique. Everything is small batch, and they take the time with the best ingredients for whatever it is that they're making. Once this whole pandemic is over, I highly recommend visiting the distillery out if you can make it out to California. If you have any friends or family to visit in San Francisco when this is all over.
It sounds like a deal. We'll all be ready for vacation then.
I think so. So tonight we can't go to California, but we can get the taste of California in the Terroir gin. It is a California-centric gin that they created to taste like California forest, pretty much. It is forest-driven and earthy. They call it the forest in a glass. The botanicals include Douglas fir. So you're still getting some of those pine notes, but they're, it's a different type of pine than the juniper that we see in the London Dry style. There's California bay laurel and coastal sage as well to soften it up. And so all those notes allow it to mix really well in both fruity and herbal cocktails. I
What's the
chose to
cocktail
go,
we're gonna be using?
huh?
What's the cocktail we're gonna be doing with this?
So I chose to include a more fruity style cocktail with this gin. And what we're gonna do, you can use whatever herbs you happen to have on hand, whatever fruit you happen to have on hand. This is one that you can really feel free to play around with. So we'll start with our terroir gin. We're gonna take some fruit, whatever you happen to have. I'm using frozen blueberries that have thawed out a little bit, but you can feel free to use apple, frozen berries, fresh berries, whatever you happen to have is fine. Feel free to add some herbs if you like. If you want it to be totally fruity, then skip them. I'm gonna add some thyme to mine, just add to the bottom of my cup here. And then we're gonna muddle it. If you don't have a muddler, feel free to use the end of a wooden spoon. You'll get the same effect. If you have a staining berry, you might need to use a metal spoon. But a muddler or a wooden spoon would be great. So that's all muddled together in there. And then we're gonna mix in our shaker. We're going to take our gin, 2 ounces. Then 3/4 of an ounce of simple syrup. So simple syrup is just a sugar and water mixture, equal parts sugar and water boiled together until it's all dissolved. Simple. It can keep in the fridge. Once you make a big batch of it, it can stay in the fridge for weeks. If you don't, I'm using like half a shot. A typical shot is about 1.5 ounces. So I would use about half of a shot. If you have mixer jiggers that you can actually measure out, feel free to be precise. If not, just eyeball it. This is a really easy cocktail that is meant to suit your palate. Feel free to add more syrup if you like it a little sweeter. Half an ounce lemon juice. And then because there's nothing carbonated, I am going to shake this one up. Between 20 and 30 shakes should do it. I'm going to add some fresh ice. Making these cocktails is a way to go through all the ice that you have. So feel free to use the same ice that you shook with if you feel like you might run out of ice.
I think everybody likes the shaking part. I think that's the highlight of the cocktails. Everybody gets to use the shaker.
And then I'm going to garnish with, because I happen to have some more time. Feel free.
Nice.
Cheers.
Cheers.
You can also garnish with.
Go ahead.
Beautiful. Look at those. Excellent. And all of these recipes are made to be tailored. So if you do like carbonation in your cocktail, feel free to add a spritz. You can add a float of soda water or Prosecco if you have it. If you have some Prosecco lying around, that could be really fun.
Yeah.
All these cocktails are meant to be played with for sure.
Now, most of these recipes, your own creation, some you dabble with over the years?
These are things that I've dabbled with. There's tons of recipes on the St. George website. So if you're looking for something different, a lot of the cocktails on the website are true mixologists. So they have different liqueurs that you may or may not have at home, that may or may not be able to be replicated. Something like absinthe, which St. George does make, that's pretty hard to replicate in any other way or to substitute. But something, an orange liqueur, for example, there's varieties that you can use if you don't have exactly what they call for.
Right. But most important part is, yes, follow a recipe, understand what the cocktail, what each spirit is, and then make it your own afterwards.
The most important thing, I think, is to stick within the flavor profiles. So if you have something sweet, you may not have honey, but you might have agave. That's a sweet for sweet. You wouldn't want to replace a honey with something that's bitter, for example. Or the herbs. You wouldn't want to replace, something that has nothing to do with the herb that you're meant to replace, unless you really like that flavor.
Right.
Okay.
Sounds good. Excellent.
So the next one we have is the Botanivore, which is your blue bottle.
All right, everybody hold up your blue bottle. There it is.
Okay, great. So the Botanivore being a word meaning botanical eater. Botanicals are just any fruits or herbs. It's vegetation, pretty much. And botanical eater is called that because of all the botanicals that it contains. There are 19 different botanicals that St. George uses. That includes angelica root, bay laurel, bergamot peel, which is what you find in that English breakfast tea, Earl Grey. Black peppercorn, caraway, cardamom, cilantro, cinnamon, citra hops, which is used in IPAs and different beers, coriander, dill seed, fennel seed, ginger, juniper, of course, lemon peel, lime peel, orris root, Seville orange peel, and star anise. So all these different flavors really come together to create a meadow in bloom type of taste. And this is one that really can go, you can go in a floral direction. If you happen to have like an elderflower liqueur or an elderflower tonic, that would be a great pairing with this. You could also go fruity with this. It really is meant to play well in cocktails.
Okay.
So the cocktail I'm going to make for you is one that I think is going to be floral and really pair nicely with spring. It'll make you think of spring. So I'm going to put some ice in my glass. I'm going to use 2 ounces of Botanivore. I'm going to use ½ an ounce of an elderflower liqueur. I'm using St. Elder. So ½ an ounce. This is a pretty strong flavor. It's pretty distinct. So you might want to start off with a smaller amount and then add more. I love it personally. I love that honeysuckle of the elderflower. I adore it. So, but feel free to add more or less depending on how you like your cocktails. I'm gonna add ¼ ounce simple syrup. If you don't like sweet cocktails, you might omit this. You might omit the simple syrup in this one because the elderflower liqueur does have some residual sugar, so there is an inherent sweetness there. Next, I'm going to use ½ an ounce of citrus juice, but feel free to add more if you like yours juicy. Grapefruit would be great with this, lemon juice. I happen to have those little clementines, those cuties that I needed to use. So this is actually clementine juice, but any citrus will do. we'll stir it and just bring it together kind of nicely. Allow those botanicals to really come together. This would be great with a float of Prosecco or club soda as well for a little carb.
Okay. And you're stirring this. You're not shaking it. Is there a reason for that?
You can. I prefer to stir it. I feel that it. I personally feel that it allows the flavors to get together like that. It prevents using so much ice. Is another issue. When you shake, that ice really dilutes, and you're gonna want fresh ice. If in a restaurant, you would see someone pour it over fresh ice. Unfortunately, I have limited space, so. But if you have a big bag of ice, then definitely feel free to shake your cocktail, stir your cocktail, and then pour it over fresh ice. Okay. It'll be colder and less diluted.
Okay. Sounds good.
And then you can garnish. I have some mint. I might throw in there if mint's not your jam. You can do like a little clementine wheel would have been nice. A lemon wedge I'm going to add. And the citrus is really nice because it takes away, it sort of brightens up the sweetness of the elderflower. Yes, I see someone shaking. We love that. Shake away. Excellent.
A few people asked what to do with the elderflower, aside from making the cocktails. It's another use for elderflower liqueur. I mean, in the store, we like using it with Prosecco.
Absolutely mix it with Prosecco. There is a name for it. It might be a French kiss. I don't know if that's exactly the name for the drink, but when you mix St. Germain or St. Elder and champagne, that is a drink that people love. It's a great aperitif, great with food, salty food, because the sweetness kind of provides a balance. French 75, that might be it. Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah. Yeah, you can mix it with vodka if you like vodka. Having that neutral spirit to sort of bump up the alcohol, the ABV. The St. Elder can mix well in that. If you are making even you want something with less alcohol and like a berry smoothie with just like a touch, sort of spike your smoothie, it would be great in. It does have a very strong floral aroma, so you want things that can kind of balance that out.
Absolutely. Excellent.
Cheers.
Yeah, cheers, everybody. How's it?
Oh, beautiful. Yes, I love all the wonderful glassware.
Yeah, I'm a glassware kind of person too.
Okay,
nice.
So
how's everybody feeling? All right? Thumbs up.
Love to see it. So the last cocktail that we have is going to be different from the others. They've all been kind of different in their flavor profiles. This last gin is the dry rye gin from St. George. The neutral grain spirit of most gin, it could be corn, wheat, potatoes. This is rye. So this is going to have the natural pepper notes from the rye, and the botanicals used in production include pepper, black pepper, caraway, coriander, grapefruit, and lime peel. So really peppery notes. This is a whiskey drinker's gin.
Oh, okay.
100% pot distilled rye. So it has if you open it, you can smell the difference right away. It has a very different flavor profile, aromatic profile. And so you can actually sub this in any of your favorite whiskey cocktails.
So I saw Peter over there reaching. As soon as you said whiskey, he's reaching for it. Try it out. I caught you. Yes, see? Good.
We need to add one more glass.
So, so this can really be used, you know, if you like it on the rocks, awesome, neat. It can do that. If you want it in a Manhattan, anything like that, it's going to do well. This is kind of like my plan, a sidecar, which is made with brandy. Typically, this is one that I did come up with. But again, on the website, if you ever have any, you know, you're sort of at a standstill for what to do, the St. George website has lots of excellent cocktails. So we're going to start with our glass. I'm going to take a piece of citrus and wet the rim. And then I'm going to dip it, if you can see this, in my plate of sugar. Feel free to skip this step. And then you can still use that as a little garnish there. I'm using superfine sugar because I happen to have it. It dissolves really quick, but regular sugar obviously is fine. If you want to spike your sugar with a little salt, or if you have you know, a certain spice that you like, feel free to play around with it and have some fun. We're going to take our shaker. We are going to shake this one. And we're going to
plate.
We're going to use 2 ounces of our St. George rye. We're going to use 1 ounce of orange juice. Like I said, I'm actually using clementine juice. So if you have to play around and sub out the orange for another sort of citrus, that's fine. It'll work. The fun here is that you're using 2 different kinds. It sort of creates, you know, some nuance and depth. So I'm going to use 1 ounce of orange juice and 1 ounce of lemon, sweet and sour.
Good. Okay.
I'm not going to use any simple in mine because I think the sugar from the rim will give us that sweetness. But if you like your drink sweet, definitely feel free to throw some simple syrup in there, maybe half an ounce.
So Nat's asking, can you use blue curacao instead of orange liqueur?
Yeah. Oh, the orange liqueur. Sorry. This is the orange liqueur I'm using. I'm using Beauchamp. Feel free to use, you know, any orange liqueur you might have. Any orange liqueur that you have will work well. They made that movie So yeah, all these drinks were designed to play around with. Give it about 20, 30 shakes.
Like shake weight time.
I'm not going to put any ice in this. I'm going to have mine neat. Feel free to put it on the rocks. You can smell right away that this one is different from the other gins that we've been using. And cheers.
There you go. Everybody hold up your cocktail once you're done. Let's take a look at them.
Beautiful. Oh, I love the blue one. That's great.
And your dogs. Oh, same nice variation. Yeah, if you have a little dog, hold that up too.
Yes,
very
absolutely.
Nice.
Does anybody have any other questions? Does anybody have any favorites from what we made tonight?
So you can unmute yourself. Just ask a question. So right now we're going to open up the floor. People have any questions about the cocktails you made or just comments about flavor profiles. Two of the St. George's. So unmute yourself.
We like the second one.
Dry Reposado, the barrel aged version of dry gin. What's that?
That's all for you, honey.
Oh, we like the second one with the fruit.
You like the second one?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all amazing.
We used raspberries. It was really good. They're all really good.
Here we are. The gang's all here.
The gin's amazing. All of the gins are fantastic.
When you taste them side by side, you really can tell the difference. You really get those different notes and how different they all can be, and how special and unique they all are.
Right.
They really are, yeah.
Would you suggest doing a tasting of them straight, or just a same cocktail that you use for all of them?
I absolutely. Oh, you mean like tasting them straight by themselves, or tasting them like make all four like one cocktail with all four gins?
Either tasting them individually but straight, or using them all in the same style cocktail.
I personally think if you were brand new to these products, I would, if you can, feel free to spit it out, but I would taste them by themselves in a row, one after the other, to really taste those differences. Your brain, you'll be able to taste it just better, sort of swish and spit them and really taste them side by side, and you'll notice the nuances. You can, of course, blow your palate out that way. So keep some soda water or something to sort of to drink in between. But yeah, I would recommend tasting plain.
We tasted each of them before we made the cocktails, and they were all different and really good.
Yeah, they're all very different. I'm glad you did that. It's a great way to learn. And then you can play around with, I might typically like a fruity cocktail, but this one, the herbal notes make me want to put some herbs in where I normally wouldn't. It helps you get creative when you know what you're playing with.
So what's the obvious differences between, we had listed the Botanivore herbal cocktail compared to the floral cocktail, one versus the other. It's just.
So the Botanivore, the ones that I had picked out, yeah, you can make it with herbs. I mean, to be honest, you could interchange any of these gins. The last one with those peppery notes, you're going to want to be careful about maybe too many bold flavors competing. But those first three gins, you can really interchange any of the gins with any of the recipes we provided, and it'll work out.
Okay.
I have a question about the dry rye gin.
Okay.
Because I know that rye, that whiskey is made from distilled alcohol put in barrels. So how do you go from there back to gin?
So this is a gin. It's just the base spirit is made with rye. So whiskey, it's made with corn mash and rye. And then those are aged in an oak, and that's where that color comes from. That's where a lot of those toasty aromas and stuff come from. This is copper pot distilled. Okay. So you're not going to get any of those colors or the same tannins that you get in whiskey production.
You're not taking rye whiskey and making gin out of it.
No, you're taking a rye spirit, of copper pot distilled rye spirit. They're actually not the only ones to do this. There is another gin company from Finland that makes rye whiskey or rye gin as well. So it can be done. It's just not, traditional, but it's actually, we're seeing it more and more in the field.
Yeah. It's really good, especially for a whiskey lover.
Yes. Yeah, it is definitely a whiskey lover's gin for sure.
You're seeing this with a lot of the spirits producers now, that they're really pushing the envelope to see what else they can do instead of just, I hate to say it, like a base model, whatever spirit, gin, vodka, tequila. Say, yes, we can make this and we're making it really well. Let's see what else we can do with it to really push the boundaries, really experiment. Is that the same? That's got to be the same with St. George as I'm tasting through it today.
Sorry, Chris, you're kind of cutting out. Yeah, sorry, I lost you there for that last part. Could you repeat it?
Yeah. So everybody's just really put a boundary, seeing what they can create with these. And in the case of St. George, I mean, look at Rosado, and I'm didn't say it's going to be coming to Connecticut, and I'm anxious to try that to see really what else you can do with these. So back in the day, again, when I go and say that, Tanqueray was the most popular thing back when I was in high school, per se. It's really exploded beyond that, where as you're tasting each one of these individually, and you should really take time to understand what these flavor profiles are according to each gin and seeing what else you could create with it. I mean, it's phenomenal, the flavors, especially when it came in that day with this and all the other ones, the Irish gin and the one from Finland. It was like, wow, this goes beyond what I've ever experienced with gin. And back in the day, I used to drink a lot of gin.
Yeah, we're spoiled with our gin portfolio, that's for sure. We have an incredible array of different styles and just artisan craft gins that really, they make your taste buds come alive. It's great.
Yeah.
You
What's
really
the
learn to-
Irish gin?
The Irish gin, I don't happen to have any here, but it's called Drumshambo. It's an Irish gin, and one of the botanicals they use is a green tea called gunpowder. It's called that because the tea itself is rolled, the tea leaves are rolled into little pellets that looked like gun pellets, I guess, back in the day. So they call it gunpowder tea, and it's a green tea infused botanical in the gin, and it's from Ireland. It's really lovely. Again, not juniper forward, so it's a little more refreshing.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah, it's a tasty gin. Let me tell you something. When Rory comes in with the bag of spirits, it's an afternoon, and that's it. After she's done, that's it for the day. But to taste everything lined up in a row, to really compare and contrast like you did today, that's really something to experience.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me and doing this and playing along.
Yeah.
And I encourage you to explore, to mix. Sort of use this as a guideline for ratio of your mixer, your fruit juice to your gin. That's sort of a good skeleton, but feel free to play around with what you actually use.
Yeah. So if you have any other questions, please ask them now before we cut out for dinner here. Everybody good, nice and toasty?
Good stuff.
Today?
Thank you.
Good, yeah. Thumbs up all around. So with
This
that, I
Sunday's
want to
got
thank
much
Rory
better
for
all of
taking
a
the
sudden.
time
Yeah.
out. What's that?
This Sunday has gotten much more exciting all of a sudden.
Thank
It's more like
For
Saturday.
sure.
More excited. Yeah.
What's the next class? Oh, ask
It's a
them what
wine. It's a wine.
the It is? When?
Next week.
Next week?
So,
When you talk-
before we get into that, let's thank Rory for coming out on a Sunday night. So give her a round of applause. You're all unmuted. So,
Thank you.
Yeah, you were
Cheers.
great, Rory. Thanks, Rory.
Thank you.
you did a great job. Thank you so much. Easy to follow. Yeah. And keep in mind, I mean, there's a lot of gins out there. There's a lot of spirits in general out there, but you're seeing a lot of these smaller producers come out there and really pay them some attention. They're really crafting something exceptional and different.
Fun to try.
Seek out these smaller producers, really utilize them. And if you have questions, always ask. I mean, people like Rory are around. We can give you the answers for you. They're in contact constantly with the distilleries, the vineyards. There's a lot of information. If I don't know, they're my go-to people. So please ask away. Again, Rory.
We can do this.
Maybe it's
You go to
Can I say something about Irish gin? We spent 2 weeks in Ireland last
We'll do the that one,
Who's talking?
and we're gonna do a red wine from Austria called Weigel.
Set that for next week.
Whoops. My audio cut out again.
Oh.
Good. So email will be coming home tonight. Check your emails tomorrow morning. We'll get it out tonight. We have all new classes lined up for May. So if there's any other questions, please email them away.
Thanks for doing this,
Any other
Chris. This is really great in this
Thank you.
crazy time.
Thank you guys
to
for
do
coming.
this sort of
Thank
thing.
you. Have a great night.
It's crazy time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rory.
Yeah, have a good night, everybody.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye, bye, Ed. Nice to meet you.
Bye.
Good to see you, Suzanne.
Bye-bye.
Cheers. Hopefully we'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.
Where's Kate,
Cheers.
Dave?
See you there.